Stop. So yeah, something a bit different today. Oh, okay. Are you getting camera ready? So a bit different day today to celebrate International Women's Day and Mother's Day. So I've got my mum.
Hello.
She's absolutely riveted to be here. She's a bit different to me and doesn't really enjoy the camera that much. So for her, this is massive. So congratulations for even getting here. You're fuming with me, I can tell. Do you just want to introduce yourself? So what's your name? Yes. That's the whole point of me being here is to talk.
Okay, what do I say? My name's Julie, I'm Chelsea's mum.
Yes.
Hello.
So obviously you're not just my mum. So there's 4 of us. And my sister as well, so my half-sister. So you've got 4 children and a stepchild.
Uh-huh.
So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about where you grew up and kind of the first time you had a child, how old you were?
Well, I grew up with my mum, my dad and my 2 brothers. I had my first child at 19, which was far too young, but there you go.
Yeah. And what's the difference, do you think? So obviously you had Stu when you were 19 and you had me and Mitch when you were 35, 36.
Mm-hmm.
So the difference between that, obviously I'm not skipping out Ryan, but the difference between having a child at 19 and a difference between having a child at 35 and 36, what do you think the main differences were? How was it different?
Knew more what I was doing, and I think I was a better mother because I was more ready for it, and 19 I was still a child myself, so moved away from home the day after I got married, before I had Stuart, so I was basically on my own most of the time, no parents around me, so we just muddled through, me and Stu.
Yeah, I think it was more normal then though, wasn't it, to have kids at a younger age than it is now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So to get married young and have kids young, it was like a lot more the norm, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So obviously you had Stu and then you ended up being a single parent, which I can imagine was really difficult when you're really young, away from home. Did you move back home when your marriage ended?
Back home when Stuart was 2.5.
So where did you live then? Back to your mum and dad's?
Back to my mum's for about 18 months, and then I got a place of my own through the council with just me and Stuart.
And how was that, being in your own home, knowing it was just all yours? Because I know for me, well, you know, when I moved out into my own place, being on my own in my own space, I mean, it's different. I didn't have a child, but it is really empowering to have your own space and for it to be yours. Yeah, did you feel the same way?
Loved it, yeah.
I guess, yeah, going from being with your parents as well, with a small child, and then being on your own and thinking, like, I can do this. Do you think that's what kind of built a lot of your strength now? Because you're very strong now, but you've had to go through lots of things to get there. So do you think you had that strength then, or do you think that's come over time?
It comes over time, because when you're a single parent, you have to be mum, dad, and have to deal with everything. So it was difficult, but I was lucky I had my parents close by. So
Nan and Grandad, we love them. You've got a really good set of parents as well. Do you think that influenced your parenting, like, skills? Like, is there anything that you thought when you were growing up, like, I will do that the same as my parents, or I will do that differently? Because I know for me, like, you and Dad are amazing parents, but there's things I will do that you've done and things that I might do differently. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think in them days there wasn't so much written about being a parent and being a good parent. My mum and dad were from Ireland, so they were pretty reserved and backward for England. So it was difficult. They were excellent parents, and I just tried my best when I was young. I made lots of mistakes. And
don't we all?
No, as a parent I made lots of mistakes, but hopefully as the more children I got, I rectified them more and more. I got better as a parent when I had you two, because I had more knowledge and there was more out there to listen to and advice.
So then, obviously, you had Stu, went on to have Rye, ended up unfortunately being a single parent again. So now you're a single parent, you've got 2 kids, and they're under the age of what?
Ryan was 4, Stuart is 6 years older than Ryan, so he was 10.
So you had 2 under 10 and you're on your own. Did you work full time at this point?
Yeah.
So that was, how hard was that? I mean, loads of people watching this might be single mums and can probably relate to this quite a lot, but what do you think the hardest part was about having 2 boys as a single mum? Because obviously there's things that boys will do or want to talk about, or things that you probably didn't have the full understanding of. Do you know what I mean?
Don't know really, it wasn't that difficult. Children are children, doesn't matter if they're boys or girls.
Yeah.
You know, so you just do the best you can, and luckily for me I had my parents not too far away, had a lot of support. They used to pick them up from school and look after them when I worked, because the other choice was go on social security, which I did not want to do, sit at home and have 2 children. So yeah, I went to work full time. I could only do that though because I had my parents.
Yeah, I was about to say...
Lots of people haven't got parents and haven't got that backup, but I was lucky.
Yeah, and I think you have always been, and I know you've brought us all up to just always work, and not any of us have ever, not that, you know, I have any strong opinions about people that claim benefits, and that I think there's a needs must, like you say, not everybody has the help and stuff, but I know that there's one thing I've learned from you bringing us up is that you work hard and you have to work hard for what you get, and I think you can see from all of us that we all have that same work ethic. So none of us are lazy.
No.
None of us will ever... I remember being in a job I absolutely hated and just thinking, I cannot quit because my mum will kick my ass if I quit this job. So you have to find another job before you go to another one. But it is so easy when you're... I think with this generation, it's difficult because there are lots of people that just do drop out and just think, oh, I'll just ride it for a while and just get money other ways or sit on benefits. But I think there's one thing that we've learned, and that's just to work hard for what we've got, and it makes you enjoy it more because you know you've worked for it.
I don't think any of you have ever claimed benefits.
No.
Maybe once when Stuart had a broken leg and couldn't physically work, and it was so annoying because he'd always worked from the age of 15.
Yeah.
And then when you tried to claim benefits, it took weeks.
Yeah.
So
that's so weird actually, because all of us worked from before we were 16. All of us had a job.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that taught me from quite a young age to, like, I had my own money when I was 14. I went to work and got my own money. So it's always taught me to be quite self-sufficient. Yeah. And although, like, you and Dad have always made sure we've got everything we need, or if I ask something, then you would be like, yeah, okay, I can help you with that. But I've always been able to have my own back, and I think that's the same as any of us. We've always had our own money.
Yeah. You've always been had the work ethic, all of you. All, like you say, you've all worked from your age. I think you were 14 actually.
Yeah, I was 14. I worked at a little pub.
Boys all worked when they were 15.
Yeah.
Even though Mitchell hated pre-mark.
Mitchell hated any type of work. Now, it's actually so weird because he loves what he does. He's very good at it.
Yeah.
And he's at a higher level now. But Mitchell's taken such a long time to get to a point where he actually enjoys going to work because he does not like being told what to do. Yeah, he's literally tried everything.
He's never signed on the dole, not once.
No, and I think, but that's, again, it's another thing, isn't it? It's like, it just goes to show that he hated work. Now, let me just tell you, my brother hated anybody telling him what to do. From a kid, probably even till now, I mean, he's pretty much his own boss now, so he doesn't have to listen to people.
No.
But he does not like being directed in any way, and I think it's so easy at that point to just go, no, I'm out. Like, I don't want to do this. And I think he's always, even if he's quit a job, he's had a job the next day. And that's just, I think that's a really good thing.
Stuart started work before he was 16 in printing because he was a July baby.
Yeah, same as me.
So he started his apprenticeship when he was 15. Ryan worked at the Goddard Arms.
I remember, yeah.
With his friend. So yeah, you've all had the work ethic and all went out to work at 15 years old. And you were a little waitressing at 14 and then...
I was a waitress for years. I actually loved that job, you know. I think at the time it was like, oh, I've got to go to work, but I think it teaches you so many things about people skills, customer service. They're like massive transferable skills that now, because I used to have no confidence. Do you remember? Like I used to go into a shop and I know laughing because I'll tell the story. But I used to go into a shop and I used to not be able to speak to a cashier. Like, I was so shy, which is mad to believe now because I'm so confident. But I used to just be like, Mum, can you ask for this? Mum. And there was one day, and I'd been to the doctor's, and I think it was to get my pill or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And my mum said, right, you're going to go into the pharmacy and you're going to go and pick up your prescription. And I was like, no, I'm not. No, so I'm picking up the pill already. So as a teenage girl, picking up birth control is probably quite... Like, now, I don't think twice about doing anything like that. But at the time, I was thinking, oh my God, no, I'm not going to do that. And I remember crying, actually physically tears in the car, saying, I can't believe you're going to make me do this. And you were like, no, I'm not getting out this car. You're going to do it. I'm so sick of you shying away. Like, because at home, I was a complete show off. I'd be doing dance shows. I'd be singing. I was just such a, show off, wasn't I, performer. And so then when I'm out in the big wide world, I couldn't even go and ask somebody in a shop for something. My mum just got fed up and she was like, you're going to go in. So anyway, after about probably half an hour of me crying, sobbing in the car, being like, I'm not going to do it, I went in and they wouldn't let me get it because I wasn't 16. So I built myself up so much and been like, I'm going to go and do this. And they were like, how old are you? Obviously, it has your date of birth on your fucking prescription. And I was like, I think I was 14 or something at the time, wasn't I?
I think you were 15.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm 15. And they were like, unfortunately, you can't get it without a parent. And I remember going back to the car and I was raging, wasn't I? I was like, I can't believe you sent me in there. You sent me in there to get it and I couldn't even pick it up. And my mum is she's not a serious person to be like, oh, darling. She was pissing herself, absolutely wetting herself to think that I had to go in and get it and then be turned away. Absolutely shameful. So we spoke a little bit about you having a laugh and stuff. You're not very serious. I think you've always kept it quite open with us. So I've always felt like I can speak to you about things, even if it's a bit cringy, or I've never felt like I'll get into trouble for saying anything. I mean, there's lots to be said for you being quite crude and all of us being quite prudish, because you just say it no filter whatsoever.
Nope.
And obviously we aren't all like that. I mean...
No, none of you are like that.
Well, Mitch was a little bit.
I don't know where you come from.
But you'll just say it.
That's right.
Sometimes, we'll be in a group of people or a family event and then Mum will just start talking openly about sex or some weird subject that obviously you just don't want to discuss with your mum, especially when you're a teenager and your mum just brings it up like it's just normal conversation. I just remember when I was young, I mean, I'm not so bad now, and I'm a lot more open now. I tell my mum anything and everything. I do tell you loads of stuff.
Yeah, but you're not. You're still prudy.
Yeah, but I'm not. I wouldn't get graphic about anything. You're very graphic about lots of stuff.
I find things amusing, that's why.
And you find it funny to wind us up.
Yeah.
But obviously we don't find it funny when we're there. Especially if we're with our partners or something and Mum just brings up a topic that obviously our partners don't want to listen to either. They do not want to be partaking in that conversation, but Mum will just continue. Poor Chloe having to deal with it all the time. Chloe has to deal with it all the time.
It's funny winding her up, see.
And Chloe's just as prudish as we are,
she's more so.
You throwing her in the deep end. When she first came to our house, she probably thought, what the hell is this? Because she's so shy and reserved and stuff. And you just throw her in the deep end and just talk about all kinds of topics and make her feel embarrassed. And you love it. But I do think that you've always been very open with us. There's never been a time where, when we were younger, you'd let us drink alcohol. It would be everyone goes to house parties and stuff, and my friends would hang around outside the shops and have to say, excuse me, can you buy me a bottle of vodka? And it was just rather than have to do that, my mum would give me alcohol and say, make sure you come back with some, just so you could keep an eye on what I was drinking, or where I was. Whereas some of my other friends... looking back on it now, it was so dangerous. I'd be able to go to a house party or go drinking. I remember, I didn't really used to drink around the shops or anything, did I?
No, you did once. Me and your dad, you said, I'm going to go and hang around the shops today. You're raving that. And I said, oh, are you? Then, half an hour later, you ring me up and say, Mum, can you come and pick me up? I don't like doing this. It's rubbish.
No, I'm a snob, but I think it's because I had older friends as well. So my usual type of hangout would be at someone's house, wouldn't it? So
Yeah.
I used to hang around with people a couple of years older than me. So those times they were having house parties and stuff like that. So that was my usual weekend plan. Like I'd be able to go and drink in someone's house. And I remember my friends, I don't know where they were or something, but I thought, I'll go and hang around with people in my year this weekend. And they were all going up to the shops on Friday night, which was the thing to do then anyway. And I remember going up there and just being sat at the shops and having all these people like walk past. And mind you, I've got older brothers as well. So like, imagine being at a shops and like seeing your older brother's mates and you're hanging around the shops with your bottle of Lambrini. Like, it's just not a good look. So I just remember thinking like, no, this isn't for me. But I think that was always such a good thing and something that when I have kids, I will do something similar because I didn't ever lie about where I was. Whereas my friends would say, oh, I'm staying around so-and-so's and they do vice versa. So their parents would think that they're safe tucked up in someone's bed, but in actual fact they're wandering the streets all night. And I think...
Yeah, you've all been good kids where that's concerned. You've always been able to sort of say to me, oh, can I... And I've trusted you and you repaid that trust. You know, Ryan used to go camping and, you know, Mitchell would have been invited to party. I remember him coming home, Mitchell coming home one day and bringing a mate back with him saying, oh, we've got chucked out of this party, Mum. Is it okay if so-and-so stays here? And I said, well, yeah, of course. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather you were safe. And I didn't find out till later that there was about half a dozen of them walking the streets all night.
I know.
You know, and I just thought, what didn't you say? They could have all come back. I'd rather that than people walking the streets and getting themselves into trouble or getting themselves, you know, hurt or anything, you know.
I think that's a good thing about our house. Our house has always been open to anyone, which is really nice growing up because I would never used to think like, oh, you can't come back to my house. Like it was just anyone was welcome. Yeah. They could stay if they wanted. Like it was always just a very open house. And I think as well, again, looking back on it now, I did have a few friends that their parents just didn't, not that they didn't give a shit, they obviously did, but they didn't really have those rules in place or that safety. And I think I'd always say, like we'd go out and I'd always get picked up so that I didn't have to walk home by myself, which is something I still do now. Like I wouldn't walk home somewhere by myself in the dark, just because I wouldn't ever put myself in a dangerous situation. But some of my friends, their parents would quite happily let them do that. And I remember like Dad always had a bigger car, so we'd always have like 7 seats in the car. My dad would always be the one picking everyone up and dropping them off, or they'd all come and stay at ours. I think that's something that I'll take forward because when you're a parent, it's hard to keep control of a teenager, and we'll come on to that in a minute anyway, but having teenagers is really difficult. And I think if you don't have that trust, it's a really dangerous game.
I remember Dad used to always say, how comes it's always us picking them up? What are all the other parents? What are all the other parents? Yeah, and the stories you used to say to us, like, oh, well, so-and-so's mum and dad, they go out on a Friday, or so-and-so's mum and dad, they get drunk on a Friday. And me and your dad could never understand that, thinking, well, actually, your responsibility is your child. The thought of you walking home, or any of my kids, not just because you're a girl, any of them, walking home on their own and maybe getting mugged or raped or anything was the worst for me. I just want to know you were safe and home rather than me sat there thinking, oh, where the hell are you? Yeah. Because, you know, you've got to remember when Stuart and Ryan's day, there was no phones. Yeah. Like there is now. Yeah. You know, so if your child wasn't home or you didn't know where they were...
I remember actually being a little kid, and Dad must have been away because my dad's obviously a lorry driver, so he used to work away quite a bit. And I remember Ryan had gone to nappy night at Brunel with Craig, and he was supposed to stay at Craig's or something, and Chris, and they didn't come home. And I remember you putting me and Mitchell in the car and you driving around Park North being like, where is he? I'm going to kill him when I find him. Because obviously you couldn't just ring your child and be like, where are you? I think they'd ended up going back to someone's house or something like that.
He walked a girl home because he wanted her to be safe. So by the time he'd walked this girl home and then went round to his friend's house, his mum had gone to bed. So it was an innocent thing. Yeah. But
he still got grounded though. He got grounded for a month. Let me tell you, he did not leave the house. And I just remember being younger thinking, I'm never going to do that. Imagine being grounded for a month, you know. That's a long time.
He was a good kid most of the time, you know. I think I was just so angry at the time that I was so
worried, yeah.
Because, like you say, Dad was away and I felt so helpless that I needed to teach him that lesson that it's just not acceptable, because I couldn't just go out and look for him without getting you and Mitchell out of bed, because you were obviously both a lot younger. But he was a good kid.
Yeah.
He just thought, oh, I'll walk the girl on so in case she gets... So she didn't get into trouble, like, you know, and then got himself in trouble, so...
Yeah. I think, coming on to that, so, like, we've already said about what age you felt that you were a better parent, which is probably as you got older, which I think anybody can relate to, because as you get older, you get wiser anyway, you have more life experience, you're more confident in your own ability. But what would you say the age, like the hardest age of parenting is in sense of the children?
Teenage years.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Because, like, I would say when you're a first time mum and you have, and obviously I don't have kids, but lots of my friends have children, I think that baby stage as well of, like, nobody gives you a handbook, do they? And they say, oh, this is how to parent.
And every baby's different.
Yeah. But I do agree that I think as you start to have to let go of those reins a little bit and give control over to your children as teenagers, that must be so tricky, because I'm a control freak and I know you're the same. So to be able to say, oh, you can go out to a party tonight and drink alcohol, and like that must be really difficult.
It's all to do with the trust issue as well, and knowing your own child, whether they are going to be sensible. Because the last thing you want for any of your children is for them to get hurt or get themselves into a situation that, you know, it's going to damage them. So it's just the worry of, like you say, letting go of the control, letting them go out into the big wide world on their own and make their own decisions. But yeah, that was probably the worst teenage years.
Do you think, and I'll wait for you to answer before I give my opinion, you got less strict by child?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say I thought you did, because
definitely.
I think Stuart and Ryan had it quite tough in the sense that they had a lot of rules. They had to be home by 10. They had to, whereas me and Mitchell didn't really have that, as long as you knew where we were. I don't know if it's got anything to do with the fact we had a phone and stuff like that, because...
Maybe that's a little bit different, I think. But when Stuart used to go out, this was like back in the 80s, and then I remember we moved from Park North to Covenham, and all Ryan's friends was in Park North. And I always remember him saying, oh, I'm going to go to my friends, and I'd say, okay, but you've got to be back here by 9 o'clock. Yeah, but
so tight!
But all my friends play out. I said, I don't care what all your friends do, and I don't care if your friends' mothers don't care about them. I want you in the street.
Harsh.
You can stay out and play, but you've got to play around this area so I know where you are. You know, and it was difficult for them, because obviously Stuart and Ryan both grew up in Park North, then we moved to Covenham. I think Stuart was a bit older actually when we moved there. But it was difficult for them then. But yeah,
I think it's probably different as well.
It's just the worry of being a mum, thinking, are they okay? And I used to be quite strict, because I'd say, right, well, it was Dad's idea actually. If Ryan was like, come in at 9:15, the next night we'd make him come in at 9:45.
You are so tight! You are so tight. Considering, can we just put it into perspective, that when you were 15, you were lying to your parents and going to the club, the over 18s club.
But that's because...
It's because what?
I had that knowledge.
What, to not get caught?
No, the naughty things you can do and get away with. I already knew what I was like when at that age, so... And my mum was naive. And I wasn't.
Because I just find that so funny that with the boys, you were like, you have to be home by 9, but at 15, you thought you had the ability to be out till...
I didn't mean you had to be home by 9, you had to be in the area by that time. Because, and not when I was 15, it was when he was about 13. Not when he was 50.
No.
God. No, because when Ryan started work and Stuart started work at 15, 16, I could hardly likely turn around to them and say, oh... You've got to be in at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I think as soon as...
When they were working men,
you
know, at 16, I had to let go and say, okay, you know, you're both work, you know, Stuart when he was doing it and Ryan when he was doing it, you're 16 years old now. I can't say what time you've got to come in.
The boys had motorbikes as well, didn't they?
Yeah,
so they had mopeds at 16, whereas I had to wait Because I wasn't allowed a moped.
I didn't ground him at 16, at 15. I'm on about when we first moved there. Ryan was about 12 or 13 and he wanted to go over to Park North. And I remember him saying once, oh yeah, but I can ride my bike really fast. So if anyone attacks me, I can ride away. And I said, so a lot of dead people thought that. So when you're young, you don't...
You just think you're indestructible, don't you, I think?
Yeah.
But obviously they had mopeds at 16, even though I wasn't allowed a moped because I'm a girl, which
and
now...
you're also a bad driver, even now. You're not even safe in a car, come on.
Right, okay.
Remember the scooters?
Actually not a bad driver.
Remember the scooters we got you when you were kids, electric scooters, we got you and Mitchell, and you crashed straight into him.
But now I've been driving 10 years and I've never had a crash.
You haven't?
No, I've never had a crash.
You've never bashed your car?
No.
That's a fib.
No, somebody else has bashed into me.
I remember when we were teaching you to drive and Dad, patient as a saint, teaching you all to drive. There's no way I'd do it. And I was taking you sometimes and I remember Dad saying to me once, don't keep on at her, let her learn, let her do it. And I remember I just got this new car Dad bought for me and...
I know what you're going to say.
And he was like driving into the drive and I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to say nothing. Larry's told me not to say anything to her, to keep getting her worked up. And then you smashed straight into the post and dented my door.
Hang on, I said I've been past my driving test 10 years. I haven't crashed in that time. That was pre-test.
You didn't bash into a post one day.
Oh, right, so moving on to the next topic.
Yeah. You're lying.
But I think my point was, as soon as we had a vehicle to get us from A to B, that's kind of when you just said, as long as I know where you are, do what you want.
Well, you were safe then, and I knew that if you like broke down or had any problems, that you'd ring me or Dad and say, can you come and help, and you come and get us. When you got to 16 and you were working, to me you were no longer children, even though like even then it was hard to sort of like release control a little bit, because I still sort of, up to a few years ago, used to think you and Mitch were 14 and 12 when you were like 23 and 24. It's just difficult.
Yeah. So do you think there was different worries between having me as a girl and the boys as boys? I think it might differ as well, because Stuart and Ryan grew up in Parks, which was a council estate, there's a few more different worries probably than there was when we moved to a less urban area, or council estate area if you like. But do you think there was differences between the worries you had with me and worries you had with them, like as teenagers?
Only basically with girls that you're going to get pregnant or raped or anything like that, but other than that, no. I never used to worry about it as much going out, because I trusted you all, to go out and have a good time and be sensible. I tried to drum it into you from no age. Yeah. Especially it helped because you had 2 older brothers.
Yeah, I think for me that was a massive thing, because as a young teenage girl, it's so easy to be, I don't know if coerced is the right word, but drawn in to like sexualised behaviour, or, I was watching something the other day and it was about Zara McDermott's revenge porn thing, about her sending pictures to boys and then them sending them on and on and on. And I remember that happening to a girl in my school, where she'd sent a picture of herself naked to a boy and then he sent it on and on and on. And she ended up having to leave our school because it was just so humiliating. And I think, not saying I would have done it, because I think I've always been quite shy and self-conscious of my body anyway, so I don't think it would have been something I really would have done, especially at that age. But because I had older brothers that always said, if you don't respect yourself, no one will respect you.
They were good actually, because I remember was in the car once and you was on about, my friends go out, and I think you was about 16. And I remember Stuart saying to you, well, there's enough little slags out there at the moment. You wait until you're old enough to start going out. I mean, they give you good advice, and I remember I always used to say to you, look, Chas, if you don't believe me, ask your brothers, because they will be the ones that can tell you the truth and guide you about girls. I mean, I knew stories when I was at school about overhearing boys saying things, what they'd done to girls and stuff. And I used to say to you, all these boys, if you let them do this to you, they're going to tell all their friends. If you don't believe me, ask your brothers.
Yeah, I think growing up around boys and just knowing how they behaved and things anyway, like Ryan would always have his friends over and stuff like that.
Your brothers are different to a lot of boys. I mean, I've heard boys, and I've said to your dad about even his workmates, the way they talk about their girlfriends behind their back and the way they talk about girls in general. My boys, none of them are like that.
No, and I agree. But I think that also shows me, and has always shown me, I mean, as you know, I've been in some terrible situationships where men are pricks, and I think there's one thing that my brothers have taught me, and that there is good men out there. So it gives you an example to compare it to. But I think in the sense of being a young girl, I was really influenced by my brothers. I thought they were really cool. Like, I used to listen to what they said, and I think them telling me not to do the things that a lot of the girls in my year were doing really had a massive influence on me. And although, like, me and you had a very open relationship, and you would always say, don't do this, don't do that because of this, and I listened, like you say, I think having that backed up by my older brothers who were closer to my age, I mean, we're not close in age, but closer to my age, and having their opinion.
Closer to you than me.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you know, sometimes with mums, you sort of say, yeah, she don't know nothing, blah, blah, blah. And all we try and do as mothers, well, most of us, is just guide you and advise you what to do through our own experiences or things that we are knowledgeable of. I mean, there's a lot of things I think now, God, I wish I'd listened to my mum.
Yeah,
do you know
you're telling me. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Even I've done it as well. And you do try and speak to your kids and advise them, only to give them advice. And I know half the time it goes in that ear and out the other ear, but it's only to prevent you getting hurt or prevent you trying to protect you.
There's been a number of times where you've told me things, and in the moment, especially when it comes to relationships and things, like you'd pass your opinion on something, and I'd stick up or defend somebody.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'd end up falling out over it, because I'm like, why are you saying that? But hindsight is brilliant, isn't it? But I remember thinking, like, why the hell have I not listened to you so much earlier? Because
my friend said this, my friend said that, and I thought, your friend don't know nothing.
Yeah. Your friend is a child, just like you. Yeah, exactly. And I think I can thank the boys a lot for that, because they were always very, very real with me. And I've spoken about this on the podcast before, about older boys and younger girls, and girls getting picked up from guys in cars in school, and me thinking, like, oh my God, that's so cool.
Girls
and then
are so easily influenced about guys and boys. They're older than me, they're this and that, and they think they're big and clever and that, but yeah, I remember your older brothers talking to me about people that's going out with older boys when they were 14, and my boys saying, no way, no way would I go out with a girl who's 14 when I'm 18. No way.
This is the thing, and I remember, I think I had a boy when I was about 13 or 14. I had a boyfriend that was like 18. I don't even remember. Or he was like just 18.
Maybe you never told me.
No, I did tell you, and I remember you being like, that's weird, he's strange. And I remember the boys being like, that's weird, he's a fully grown adult, he can go out clubbing, why the hell is he hanging around outside of school?
Yeah.
And now I look back and I think, oh my God, that's so strange. But as a young girl and you're getting older male attention, you think you're the absolute shit.
Yeah, but I'm just glad that my boys weren't like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they've got more respect for themselves as well. That, you know, I remember the boy saying to you, God, he's a paedophile.
Yeah.
Why is he hanging around a 14-year-old?
Yeah.
You know, and my boys would never have done that.
No, and I think for all of us, we're all very outgoing. So as soon as I turned 18, and the same for them, we were out. We were out all the time. We were out.
You wouldn't think of hanging around school.
Never in a million years.
No.
I couldn't wait to be able to drive, to be able to go out clubbing, to like go on holidays and stuff.
I remember when you left school, and I remember you coming home and you said, thank God I've now left school. I don't have to pretend to like them bitches anymore.
But that's so true, because I think it's so, obviously, like I said, I used to hang around with older people, and when those people left school, I felt like, oh, for God's sake, I'm now forced to be in friendship groups that I particularly want to be in. When you're in school, you're very forced to who you are with all day, every day. And I couldn't wait to be able to choose my own friends, because I've always felt like, in my mind, I've been quite mature for my age, because I have got older brothers, because I've had older friends. So when there was like petty drama going around and like stupid arguments, it used to just bore the shit out of me, because I just think I can't be bothered for this. I wasn't one for drama or to create drama, so it used to just piss me off. And I think when I left and I went to college and I met loads of people that were so like-minded, and like a lot of the girls, even when I went to college, some of the girls that were in my class were older than me. So like Bex and Elise, they were like 4 years older than me. And I've just always been drawn to people that are more mature than I am, because that's where my mind level has been. And I think being forced to be friends with people at school just wasn't me. I can't pretend. I can't pretend to be in a situation and like to be there. I'm not very good at hiding my face, as probably everybody knows. If I feel a type of way, you can see it all over my face. I'm not very good at pretending. And I just remember thinking when I left school, like, thank God I haven't got to fit in anymore, because I wasn't really one to like follow trends or be like, oh, I want to do this. I wasn't a sheep. So to not be able to do that, and then when I left, I just thought...
I used to hate it if someone said to you, where did you get that from, Chelsea? I like
that skirt,
or I like that.
I hated it, I lie.
And she used to lie and say, oh, I don't know, my mum got it from the store. Because I remember you coming over to me and I can't stand people copying me. Why don't they just get their own thing?
Because I think... Again, because I had older brothers, I was always quite influenced. My style was always quite influenced by them, and I'd like get cool stuff, or I'd like get stuff that was a little bit different to everyone else, and then everyone would be like, "Oh, where'd you get that from? I want it." It's like, no, no, I'm the trendsetter here. But do you know what I mean? I just like to be my own person. I don't like it when other people try and mimic what you do. It just, I don't know. It was always just a big thing for me when I was younger. I mean, now I couldn't really give a shit that much, but when I was younger, it was a big thing, wasn't it? I used to hate it. But yeah, I
funny child.
Wasn't that funny? Actually did all right. You did all right. You didn't actually have to worry about me that much.
What happened when you got older?
Yeah, true. Let's talk about that actually.
I used to remember saying to your dad, because apart from when you were 3 years old, you was a little bitch for your temper tantrums, and when I took you to nursery and you were such a perfect little girl, and the teacher said, oh, she's such a good little girl. And I said to her, you don't know her.
I know.
When she's at home, she is completely different.
It was horrible.
And then you showed your true colours one day. Her face was an absolute picture.
Yeah. And I never wanted to go back, did I?
I saw the real temper tantrum Chelsea. And her face, I wish I took a picture of it, because it was amazing. Because you've always been a great actress. When you're amongst people, you are perfect, you are this, you are that. Nobody knew the real you. That was like,
when I was younger.
Yeah.
Quite now I'm quite see-through, I'd like to think.
Yeah. But then me and your dad used to say, after your temper tantrums, you know, we've never had no trouble with you. You was always a good girl, you was always respectful. Me and you never really fell out as kids, only basically because she was probably too scared. But as you got older, and you know, you were allowed to do your own thing and have these boyfriends that were whatever... That's when we started having troubles with you.
I think I've always been somebody who wants to help others.
You've been
a
people pleaser all your life.
So like I'd get into relationships where I thought I could help somebody, or I would be able to change their ways or whatever, and then I would be stuck in a situation where I felt guilty if I left them, because a lot of the people that I was with didn't really have...
Depended on you.
They depended on me for a lot of things, and I think I then became like an extra mum. So in some of my relationships, I've just been like, oh, I'll do it, until the point has come where you just think, I can't fucking do this anymore, it's exhausting.
I remember having the conversations with you, thinking, right, you're doing all this for them. What do you do that you like? And you couldn't answer me. That to me, as a parent, broke my heart, watching you disappear.
I've done that on so many occasions.
You have,
yeah.
And I used to find it really irritating, because me and your dad used to have the conversations, you know, and say, what the fuck is she doing?
And I think that's because, and I don't know why, but as I was younger and a young adult, my self-confidence was really low. And I think it's because I've always carried weight. So I've never been big or huge or whatever, but I've always carried weight. And I think when you grew up in school and most of the girls around me were tiny, and I think when I was at school, I always felt like the bigger one, and that kind of probably implemented on my self-confidence growing up. So then, as I became a young adult, I started drinking alcohol and gaining more weight because I used to go out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
I then probably become less confident, and I always used to think. I remember Mitchell saying to me once, like, I was watching something on TV, and I was like, oh, he wouldn't want someone like me, and he was like, why? And I remember just thinking, like, what? He's like, and I was like, well, because I'm big. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, you're nice. Like, he was like bigging me up. And I was like, oh my God, like, okay, maybe I'm not so bad. But I think I talked myself into it for so long that I didn't really deserve any better than what I was getting. And I think that's probably lasted up until, till 27. Till now, when I realised I actually do deserve somebody who treats me well, because I think I used to just put up with so much bullshit. Well, you know I did. There'd been times when I've spoke about it on podcast before, or I don't know if I wrote it in a blog, but like there was just a time where you just sat me down and you were just so upset and you were like, what the fuck are you doing? I am watching you waste all of your 20s being with just people that don't appreciate you. And that's when it really hit home for me. I was like, oh my God, I need to change this, because it was making you ill and it was making me ill. It just wasn't a good environment, was it?
No. But then that's all part of being a parent, like you say, even though it's in your 20s, you're still my child, and I still care about everything. If any one of you are upset or unhappy about something, it affects me. The anxiety I get, because I can't control it anymore, is terrible.
Can't make those decisions for people either.
No, I hate seeing any of you upset or any of you in a place where you're miserable. It's horrible.
Yeah, and I think you've seen it with all of us. I mean, all of us have had bad relationships or bad situations where you've had to sit and watch us go through some real shit and just have to sit through it, because you know as well as you've never said to any of us. I mean, there's been loads of things that we've done that probably has made you unhappy, but you've never said anything. You've just let it play out because you know that ultimately we'll make the right decision in the end. And I think that's something that I would find really difficult to do. I know as a sister, if I'm watching my brothers, and I have done in the past, go through some real toxic relationships, I am angry. Like, I am angry to the point where there's been occasions I've said to the boys, like, I will go and punch them. Like, and I'm not a violent person. I've never had a fight in my life, but if you hurt my family, I literally become like a lioness.
But I think all four of you are like that.
Yeah. And we're all very protective of each other.
Yeah.
But I think as a mum, that must be amplified times 100, because I remember that there being situations with the boys where I've seen them like in really bad places because girls have just been absolute assholes, and I've just been like, I need to take control of this. I need to take control of this situation, and I can because I'm a girl and they're a girl, and I'm going to go and do something. And I know that Mitchell has done that on several occasions for me, like been out the door nearly, hasn't it? That on a couple of occasions, one particularly, I remember going home and telling him something and him being in his car and being like, I'm going there now. And I was like, no, you're not. Because the situation that comes from that is he's in trouble and the other person gets off scot-free. But I think we are all very protective of each other, and I think it's really difficult to watch other people go through pain when you are so close to them, and I think as a mum that's just so difficult.
Yeah, because you love them unconditionally and you just think, how dare this person do that to them? How dare they?
Yeah.
You know, they don't deserve that. You know, like you say, I've wanted to do exactly that myself on numerous occasions with you lot. You know.
I think, have you learned any lessons? Like, what are your big lessons that you've learned throughout being a parent? Like, is there anything that, is there anything you would give advice to me or the boys or anybody really watching, like something to do being a parent that you didn't do or you wish you'd done better? Or
I wished I was more patient. I wish I'd had more knowledge when I had Stuart, because obviously at 19 I had none, and been a better parent. I don't know. People, you just, like I said, each child is different anyway, individually. You'll get the ones that's bad-tempered, you'll get the ones that's milder, you'll get the ones that's sleepers, blah, 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 and whatever. Every child is different, so you just got to take them as they are and just enjoy them.
And
because all too soon it's gone.
Yeah. Is there any advice you'd give to your younger self, whether it be about being a parent or just you in general? What advice would you give to your younger self?
Don't have children so young. No, you know, we're all the same. We all think when we're young we know it all. I'll be fine, I can do this, I can do that. Just enjoy it and take it slow, because all of a sudden your life is gone. The children are all grown up. You know, when I watch my grandchildren now and I see so much better parenting from my children to their children, and it's because there's more knowledge, and you know, I see them enjoying them and doing more with them. I wish I'd done that. But like, my situations were different. I was a single parent, I was in a marriage that wasn't great. Apart from when I had you and Mitchell with your dad, you know, luckily we stayed together the whole time. So it was easier, but still difficult in times, because obviously your dad worked away a lot.
And it was probably difficult for dad at times as well, because although like the boys would call dad, like that he's brought them up.
Yeah.
But being a step parent, coming into that situation must have been difficult at times. He's been amazing to the boys, and the boys like would say, like, literally,
you know, and it hasn't been easy at times.
No,
do you know what I mean?
know.
But you know, your dad's a bit like you. He's not confrontational. He's not like me in that way.
You mean fiery tempered?
Yeah, he's not. He's easygoing and laid back. He's been brilliant with them.
And I know they say that as well, like they're very thankful, although they may not have, you know, like you say, it's not been easy. I know now that they are really appreciative of what dad has done.
That's because they're parents themselves.
Yeah, and I think you appreciate things more. I remember when I worked in a children's home, and I remember texting you and dad, because I worked with children that had emotional behavioural difficulty, so they'd had a lot of trauma in their life anyway, but I would go to work and they would just be so thankless for the things that you do. So you try something really amazing to make them happy, and then or you know, you're giving them a lift here, then there, or can you bring me some lunch? And I just remember, like, these aren't even my children, and I feel like, how dare you be so thankless? But coming from your own kids and being like, I was speaking to Siege about this the other day, like just being like coming home from school and being like, oh, I'm going ice skating on Friday, like, oh, are you? Like, how are you going to get there? Do you know what I mean? Like, I just used to assume I would have a lift there, I'd have a lift home, and I'd have the £5 to go. And I'd have some money for a McDonald's afterwards, because, you know, all of that just grows on trees. But I would just come home like an entitled little bitch and be like, hey, I'm going to the cinema on Saturday morning. Like, not can I go to the cinema on Saturday morning? It was like, I'm going, like, because all my friends are going. So, like, it was just...
That brings to mind the Disney...
Oh, we don't want to talk about that.
The Disneyland episode, when we thought, me and your dad thought, that'd be so nice, Chelsea and Mitchell will love it. You know, we've arranged secretly to take you to Disneyland. And I remember it was at my mum's house at the time, wasn't it? We turned around to you and said, you sat at the table with Mitchell.
This is not a good story, it doesn't paint me in a good light at all.
And we said, no, this is just saying about the entitlement business.
Yeah.
Me and your dad said, oh, we've got a nice surprise. Oh, what's that? We're going to take you to Disneyland. And you went, why the hell would I enjoy going to Disneyland? And I'll tell you what, it's a good job you got Von Ridderbands, because I'd have penetrated. I was so angry with you.
I know.
I thought, what have I done to this child to make her feel that she's so bloody entitled?
I know. And that's the thing, like, you just don't realise until you're an adult, like, the entitlement that, especially this generation, like, I even look at, like, teenagers now wearing, you know, Balenciagas and Alexander McQueen's on their feet and thinking, do you know how much they cost?
I know, it's like when I was younger, when I had Stuart and Ryan on my own, the most difficult part was trying to get them keeping up with
fashion and stuff
like that, you know. And Ryan used to go through trainers like no one's business. He was really hard on his shoes, and you know, his trainers at the time was like £60 a pair. This is 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And you know, I used to say to him, okay, you can have them, I'll pay £30 and you pay £30. And that's the way we did it.
Yeah.
You know, and when, you know, they was at school trying to get them the Adidas jumpers that everyone else had and stuff like that, and having a Debenhams card that I had at the time, so I could get it on credit because I had no money, which actually Dad paid off when I was pregnant with you. You know, but it's just so your children can be similar to
it's so
else.
hard now to I can just imagine like having kids now, teenagers now, you know, having to have an iPhone, having to have like what on earth, like the things that cost so much money and they're just the given.
But I must admit, none of you, Mitchell, Stuart, Ryan, have ever asked for anything and thought you've been entitled to it.
No.
You know, you and Mitchell have never said, can I have?
No.
We've tried to help you as much as we can,
obviously.
You know, and when Ryan wanted a bike, Dad lent him the money, Ryan paid him back, or Dad lent him.
And that's always how we've been done. We've done things.
Same, you know
if we need help, it's there, but we've always paid it back, and I think that's.
You've never expected or asked for anything.
No.
You know, even if you didn't want to go to Disneyland. That was the biggest disappointment of my life. She'll be so excited. They'll be so excited they'd go to this holiday.
I'm such a bitch.
Why would I want to go to Disneyland?
Literally, what the hell was wrong with me? Stroppy teenager.
Yeah.
I know. I'm sorry.
Bitch.
So now obviously we're all grown up and we've all left home and stuff like that. Like, how does it feel for you? Because I can imagine, I've watched a film about this before, I can't remember what it's called. But it's about all these mothers that have these kids and then they fly their nests and then it's
Empty
like...
nest syndrome.
Yeah. How do you feel? Because obviously we're all grown up and doing our own thing. So like you've dedicated 40 years to being a parent. How does it feel now?
When you and Mitchell first got older, I did have a bit of that, oh God, nobody needs me anymore. And I think that's when my anxiety kicked in, I think, because I had nothing to think about or do. Like when Stuart left home, there was still Ryan, you, Mitchell there. And then when Ryan left home, there was still you and Mitchell there. And you do get that, so I had other things to focus on. But as you and Mitchell got older, and it was a bit like, I don't know what to do with myself now.
Yeah.
You know, and I had nothing to think about, didn't feel like I had a life of my own, because...
That's the thing, isn't it? Because you dedicate your whole life to being someone's parent and then you miss out on loads of stuff. Because you and Dad do everything together, but you don't exactly go out and do loads of stuff on your own. Like, you've got friends that you see, like couple friend, really. Yeah. So you do things as a couple, but... I mean, and I guess everyone will be different. Some people do carry on with their own life or they have careers or whatever. I mean, you restarted your career quite late on, didn't you? You started a new career probably when you were, 40s? When you started being a phlebotomist?
50s.
So yeah, you started
about 50, yeah.
You started a new career quite late on, but I mean, did it make you feel like you wished you had done anything differently? So like, wished you'd carried on doing things on your own, or?
No. I enjoyed my family, but it just seemed to go all like, wow, and then it's all gone.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I remember my mum being the same when Martin left home. She had the empty nest syndrome. She was terrible.
Yeah.
And I thought at the time, God, I'll be glad.
You couldn't wait for us to leave.
No, but it's not like that. It's not the fact that, because obviously Mitchell's still at home, got rid of you, and then Chloe moved in. So nothing like that has changed. It's just the fact that you don't need me anymore. Do you know what I mean? That was what it was, I think. And all of a sudden you think, okay, what am I going to do with myself now?
Yeah.
But you can't. You've let go, but you can't let go.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And that's why I think sometimes I get too involved in stuff I shouldn't get involved in because it's nothing to do with me. It's just the letting go.
You've got nothing better to do.
No.
Do you have any like favourite memories of us like growing up? Like, is there anything that's made you extremely proud or anything that's made you feel like, yeah, I've done a really good job?
Things I miss more, like, you know, when you were younger and the kids going on holiday and stuff like that. me and Dad went away for a weekend, I think, when you were at some school trip.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my mum had Mitchell, can't remember. But me and Dad went away to Butlins for a weekend. For Monday to Friday. We came home on a Thursday. Because all we did was sat there looking at other people's kids. Thinking, well, I feel like we feel we should be doing something, but we weren't.
Yeah.
So I missed that when you were younger and the kids being on holiday. Because I still tend to do that now when we're away. Watch other people's kids and watch them enjoy. And then just sort of reminisce of when we had you when you were little. Sometimes it wasn't pleasurable, but I suppose it's just the busyness of your mind.
Yeah.
It's difficult to switch off and say, right, okay.
Just be able to do nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're a bit of an overthinker as well. So
oh, definitely.
You switching off and doing nothing. I mean, I've got better at it lately, but I used to be the same, didn't I? I couldn't sit and just watch TV or sit and do nothing. I'd have to go and do something because my mind was always so busy.
Sit and do nothing.
Yeah,
my brain
you can.
Can't switch off.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's what I mean. That used to be my worst time. I wouldn't like to sit and just watch anything or do anything, sit and do nothing, because my brain would go into overdrive. So I used to just always be busy, whereas now I quite happily lay in bed all day, I'm not going to lie. But that's just show of contentment, I guess, isn't it? That you can just do that. Have you got any moments that have made you proud for any of us, or like?
I think all of you made me proud in your own ways for different reasons. Do you know what I mean? I'm proud of every one of you as an individual of what you've accomplished in your lives. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, you've all made me proud in different ways.
Give me some specifics.
I just think you're just proud of the way you've grown up and sorted your lives out and been in good places, gone through the shit that each and every one of you has had to deal with in your own different lives. And I just think every one of you, I'm really proud of every one of you for every little thing you've done. And you've all come out the other end, you've all accomplished what you want to accomplish. Yeah, I'm proud of all of you. I
think it's nice. Last night we actually had a virtual quiz with all of my brothers and stuff, and it was nice, wasn't it? Because everybody's in their nice place, and I think it must feel nice for you to see everybody happy.
Oh, lovely! Yeah, love it. That's my favourite thing.
Yeah,
to see all of you happy.
Oh, and how do you feel about being a grandma or grand nanny, as you like to be called? Because grandma is off limits.
Old.
Nobody say grandma.
Well, it's lovely. It's really lovely because you can enjoy them
and then give them back.
Yeah, you don't have to put up with the bad bits for too long, like you do when you're a parent. But no, they're beautiful, all of them.
Aww.
All of them. I must admit, Ella was a bit like watching you as a child the other day in her tantrum.
Strong mind, strong woman. We love it.
Yeah,
she'll be a strong woman when she's older.
She's going to be a diva.
Yeah, exactly.
She's going to be a diva.
That's what we like to. We like to implement those things early.
I like a good strong woman. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what this is about. Yeah. Have you got any questions for me, being your daughter?
What sort of mother do you think you're going to make?
I mean, I don't know. All of my career, I've worked with young people or children or people with additional needs. I've worked with homeless people. I've worked with people that have been through significant trauma. So I have a good understanding of stress and how to manage that stress and things like that. But I'm strict. But that being said, I've always been strict. So if you talk to parents, like when I used to work in nurseries years ago, like the parents used to be like, oh, I can only get them to eat their dinner if I say, oh, Chelsea, if Chelsea knows that you haven't eaten your dinner, then that she's not going to be happy. Like I was like a threat. It sounds awful, but because the kids loved me and I was very good with them, but they knew I had boundaries, and you know what I'm like with Rio, Josh and Ella. I'm very strict with them. So if I have them, they'll have so much fun, but don't try and pull no bullshit.
But do you think once you've had your own child,
it'll be different?
It'll be different because of the
attachment.
You will have a different kind of love for your own child.
Yeah.
So I know you always say like, well, I would have done that and I would have done this. But when it's your child and you've got that overwhelming love for your child, well, you'll be able to carry that all the way through.
Yeah, it's difficult because I think as Rio grew up, I was very, very close to Rio in the sense that I used to see him all the time. Me and Nikki used to spend a lot of time together, so I was with him a lot. And I think that's probably the closest I've ever been to that, you know, having control. And it is difficult, I think, when kids are having tantrums and they're doing things that they shouldn't. And also for a quiet life, it's easy to just be like, oh, do you know what, carry on.
But then you've also got to think, when not all children have tantrums.
Yeah, no, well, I'd debate that, but...
I don't remember Ryan ever having a tantrum.
Oh, because Ryan's perfect. We all know Ryan's perfect.
Do you?
When Mitchell had the bigger room.
Oh, that's yeah.
He was a fully grown adult.
He was an adult then. As a child, I don't remember Ryan ever having a tantrum.
Yeah, I definitely think some kids are more easygoing.
And a lot of kids, you were more easygoing. Once you got over your tantrum stage, you were.
Toddler stage is hard when kids.
You could, with you and with Ryan, you could reason with them and talk to them.
This is what I feel like. Yeah.
And with Mitchell, they were a little bit different temperament, so you don't know what sort of child you're going to get. I mean, look at Ella. She's been a perfect child all the way through till she started the old temper tantrums. Look like
terrible twos.
Terrible 2 threes. Josh, terrible baby, bless him, had that tummy trouble and that. He's amazing now. You know, so they are all different.
Yes, I remember having
parent them differently.
I remember I'd said, right, I'm going to take the kids out. It was before Josh was born, and I said I'm going to take Ella and Rio to out for ice cream. Yeah. So I picked Ella up, and then I went and picked Rio up from school. Off we went to Casper's. So we get into Casper's now. And Rio is an absolute angel for me. Like, he is so good for me all the time. And he's really good with little ones now. Like, he loves that. So he was, like, holding Ella's hand. We walked into Casper's. Rio sits down at the table. And Ella goes and I go and pick her ice cream or whatever. And she just starts having a meltdown because she wants to bang the spoon against the, like, metal bowl. And I was like, no, it's not going to happen. I think she was, like... 1.5 at a time.
Video of it.
And she was having a tantrum, like stomping her feet, crying. Obviously everyone in Casper's is looking at me and I'm just thinking like, I'm not giving in. And I remember sitting there and Rio said to Ella, you need to use your words. Chelsea won't listen to you if you don't use your words. And me just thinking, oh my God, this kid, he was 6 at the time, 7? And he was repeating back to Ella what I had said to him because he was quite a difficult toddler in the sense that he used to just have quite a lot of tantrums, didn't he? And I just remember him saying it and thinking like, oh my gosh. And you know, you have those moments, like I do it now sometimes when I talk to the kids. I'll say something, I think, oh my God, I sound like my mum. Like, I sound like my mum. Like, there's things that you used to say to me, like, well, crying's not going to get you anywhere, or you sent me that thing the other day, like things that your mum says to you. Like, one of them was, wait until your dad gets home, but I never had that one because my dad is soft as shit. And literally, I'd be like, tell my dad to get home because I do not. If I remember once being in trouble at school, I had a lighter in science and I lit lithium, which is like a big, massive blue flame or something. It came up and they were like, I just got sent out of the class and whatever. And they were like, we're going to call your mum. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, I am dead. I was like, please don't call my mum. Please don't call my mum. My mum's at work. Please call my dad. Please call my dad. And I remember once Mitchell was at secondary school and he had Heelys, some trainers with heels on them, like, you know, the little skate things, and he was skating around the corridors and stuff, and they mustn't have been able to get hold of you or something, but he was in trouble anyway. And I remember they couldn't get hold of my mum, so they rang my dad, and my dad answered the phone, and my dad's a lorry driver, so driving at the time, and was like, hello. And my dad doesn't really tend to get involved in like that kind of thing anyway. He's so easygoing. I don't think my dad's ever told me off in my whole life. And they said, hi, Mr. Eddles. Mitchell's riding around school wearing his Heelys. And my dad said, well, tell him to stop then. And Mitchell must have been sat there thinking, thank fucking God they rang my dad, because But he's not going to say anything. And my dad was just like, I'm trying to work. Why are you bothering to call me? All of those kind of things make me laugh. The same as when Mitchell used to get trouble at school. And we used to get home from school before you'd get home from work. And like we'd get home and like there'd be answer messages on the voicemail from the teachers, and me and Mitchell would like run in, voicemails, who's it from, teachers, delete, like all kinds of stuff, because we'd be thinking, if mum knows, she's gonna go mad. Honestly, we used to have each other's back. If whoever got in first, just delete those voicemails before mum gets home, or hide the letters that has come through from your report. Like, so funny.
Devils.
I know. The things we used to get up to that you
And
didn't know.
I trusted you.
Yeah, I know. I was so trustworthy.
Yeah, see?
Well, thanks for joining me, Mum. I just wanted for everybody to see, like, I know, for people that know us will know that you're a really strong woman, and I know that a lot of my friends say, like, I mean, obviously I love you because you're my mum, but you're very wise and you give good advice. I think because you've been through quite a lot in your own life and brought up all of us, and we've obviously been through our own things, your strength is very admirable, and I just want to say thank you for raising me, because obviously I have gone through so many different phases of being not confident, and you've always said to me, like, give a fuck what anybody else thinks, like, just be yourself. And I think it has taken me a long time to get to where I am now, where I think I don't give a shit. But I think if I didn't have you keep saying, don't give a shit what people think, why do you care?
Don't put up with that shit.
Don't put up with shit. Don't care what other people think. Do whatever makes you happy. I remember, like, even when I went to Vibe, and I started Vibe, and then I remember coming home one day because, like, there was, like, other girls that I didn't know there, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to go back, because I felt nervous. And this is when I was going through quite a bad time anyway. And you were like, no, you're fucking going back next week, and you're going to walk in there, and you're going to go and dance. And I remember thinking, like, yeah, fucking hell, I'm going to go in there. And, like, now, I love it. Like, it's, like, one of the best things in my life. So, yeah, I just want to say thank you. You've always pushed us to do whatever makes us happy, even like with Mitch and his music. And like, I remember when he first started, and he was doing that, going to London for weeks on end, and to try and like learn how to engineer, and that's when he met Fumes and stuff like that. And there wasn't even a question. You were like, if you want to go and do music, bang, we'll sort this out, we'll pay for whatever we need to pay for to get you to be in London for this amount of time, just go and do it. And like, you've always supported us. I said, I'm going to get on a flight to Australia on my own. And you were like, oh my fucking God, that's really scary. But okay, go. Like, you've never said you can't do that or you won't do that. I think you've always made us believe in ourselves. And like, yeah, like you say, you're proud of us all for where we are now. But none of us, I know that all of us would agree, we wouldn't be where we are now if it wasn't for you. So thank you.
Thank you for being my little girl. And all my children for being great kids.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for coming on. I know you hated every second of it.
Yeah.
Can you leave now? But yeah, tune into the next episode when the girls are back on the sofa and run up the old episodes.